You're listening to the Springburn Audio Archive Preservation Project, preserving important North Glasgow media, music and more for future generations to listen to, learn from and enjoy.
So hello everybody and welcome to episode 2048 of the Springburn Audio Archive Preservation Project. My name is Frank McGowan and I'm here with the lovely Helen Stark. Hello Helen.
Hi Frank.
And that's Liz pulling a chair.
Hi all.
Liz is here as well. We're going to be speaking to Liz in a little bit, but first of all we're speaking to Mr. Edwin Peebles. Hello Eddie, how are you?
Not bad, thank you.
Thank you for joining us Eddie. I think it's going to be good for us to get a little bit of an insight into your early life, but just to start off, do you want to tell us a little bit about where you grew up?
I grew up in Springburn until I was about 7. It was a lovely time. And then because they dropped bombs in Springburn, my mother took us to Twicca.
Okay.
How long did you stay in Twicca for?
I was in Twicca for about 15 months. When the war started, I had been at school about 3 weeks, something like that, maybe 4 weeks. And it stopped, just suddenly stopped. No idea why.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out later that they thought that the Germans would come over and bomb every place in Britain.
Jeez,
And there would be at least 500,000 people would be killed within the first month.
wow.
Nothing happened at all. I know that all the things have gone on, but kids, I think, during the war, we knew nothing about them. We were back at school probably about 6 weeks after that.
What school did you go to, Eddie?
Gourley Street.
Goodley Street.
So what was Gourley Street School like?
Oh, it was an old school, still there. It was like an old house, mansion.
Okay.
And it had a primary school on one side where he went for 2 classes, primary 1 and primary 2, and then over to the big school. And it was primary 3 until you were 12.
What do you remember about your early school life? What are some of your recollections about, like, any of your teachers or things that were going on at school?
Well, all the teachers seemed to be old. That was because all of the young teachers had to join up for helping with the war.
It's quite interesting.
So they brought back all the old teachers.
On a scale of 1 to absolute angel, how rebellious were you?
Well, it depends who you were hanging about with. I mean, really was. I mean, we weren't allowed to play in a cemetery. Officially, you weren't, but we all hid in the bushes because there was nobody there to look after the place. Everybody was in war. There were no, so it was wild. Grass was high, trees were high, bushes, kids were everywhere. And we played every single game.
What kind of games, Eddie?
We played up on the dike. And at that time, during the war, they built what was known as shelters. So they took all the iron from in the back courts and they put shelters there for people because the buildings were coming down with the bombs.
Yeah.
And you went from the wash house and jumped on the dike and back again, if you were good. I mean, you got belted for that, but you don't think about that when you're a kid, you know.
Were you a bad boy then, Eddie?
I probably.
So did you ever actually get into trouble for that, Eddie? Or did you get into trouble generally for anything that you remember?
Well, I got taken up to court playing football. I got caught and we all got fined 7 and 6 when we were kids. And I never told my mother, and a letter came to her. Well, to say that the limeage in the house was...
No comment.
So whereabouts specifically in Springburn did you stay, Eddie?
I stayed in Typical Road at the corner of Crichton Street. So you played in Crichton Street, or we played in a cemetery. The cemetery was the best cowboy and Indian playground I've ever been in my life. Bang, bang, I got you. Oh, you missed.
What were school subjects, Eddie? What did you like at school?
Personally, I liked mathematics because it was easy for me, real easy. I don't know why, but the figures come into my head.
Nope, somebody's coming in.
So what year was that?
1939.
It's Aurelia. And coming in to join us on the conversation is Aurelia. Hello, Aurelia. How are you?
I'm okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Grab a seat, my dear. Eddie was just telling us about his school days.
You still remember?
I remember going to school, yes. My mother took me to school.
Oh,
I know you were close with your mum, Eddie, weren't you?
Well, my mother was 93 when she died. My father was 81.
Wow, that's amazing. You all seem to have like quite good longevity.
My younger sister died 3 years ago. 3 years past Christmas.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Eddie.
My other sister died when she was 78. She was 78 and she was born in 35. So you
don't look 90.
You don't look your age, Eddie.
You're still going strong.
You must have been really, really handsome when you were much younger.
There you go, Eddie. Get your coat you've pulled. So what do you think the secret to longevity is?
Probably my parents. My father was in the hospital when he was 57 and thought he was going to die.
Oh, no.
So did a lot of us. We all went to see him and so forth. Well, he used to smoke caps in full strength.
Okay.
My dad used to smoke caps in full strength. That's the orange packet, isn't it?
Yes.
No filter on them, these ones.
No,
They were
right.
just...
That's that time.
I was sitting there listening, no long to go and so forth. Died when he was 81.
So what subjects were you taught in school?
Well, we took all the subjects. We took English and maths and music. And I remember we took music because we all sang in the class. We all sang.
Oh, people sang in class?
Yes. There was boys and girls in the same class.
Okay.
So, and there was a music teacher coming around. I would think once a month, maybe even more. But
can you remember the songs you sang? The songs that you were taught while you were in school?
A lot of Afton Water.
Maybe it was the higher standard that you did in school.
We all had to learn one in New Year.
Auld Lang
Auld Lang Syne.
We all had to learn that.
I knew you were going to say that for some reason. I don't know why. I thought, is he going to say Auld Lang Syne? And you didn't.
And we also had to learn poems. We had to do burns.
Can you do one for us?
Like shy all of a sudden.
Well, the ones that we got when we were young would be To a Mouse and To a Daisy. That's I remember.
We sleek at Cowran Timorous Beastie.
That's To a Mouse. We meant To a Daisy.
All right.
We crimset tippet flew. Thou smet me in a evil hour, for I uncrush amongst the stour thy slender stem. To mend a knee is past my power. To a Mouse was we sleek at Cowran Timorous Beastie. Oh, what a panic's in thy breastie. Thou need me start to watch a hasty, for brick and battle, for I below to run she. In modern Pratt. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has troubled nature so soon, and thou hast formed such ill opinion at me, thy poor earth-born companion, and fellow mortal. But missy, thou art not alone, in proven foresight thou be vain, the best laid schemes of mice and men, gang after glee, and lee is not but grief and pain, and promise joy. But thou art blessed compared to me, present only touches thee, forward though I cast my eye, and prospects dear, but backward though I canna see, I tread on fear.
Wow.
It's
amazing.
Well done, Eddie.
That's interesting.
Any subjects you didn't like?
Probably English.
Can you imagine? Actually, yeah.
Because you were compelled to do it and think about it and so forth.
What hobbies did you have kind of after school or things that you enjoyed to do?
Well, I always liked reading history, maybe 2 or 3 centuries back.
Did you have a teacher that you really, really liked?
Yes, the last teacher we had was a Miss Ross, and she stayed in Balornock.
Did you ever venture to Balornock? Did you ever go up to Balornock and see what was up there? Because I know there was the farm and the mines.
Because the farm was there in the park and all that. There's big open spaces. Although they've all got houses. When you went up to the park, if you went up by Bogre Hill, the place was full of mansions, especially on the left-hand side of the road. And all the solicitors and doctors stayed in these mansions. All the way up to the park gate. And the houses stopped there.
Mm-hmm.
Next to where the talisman was.
Oh, aye, there were what, 15 pubs in Springburn.
And I know we had a lot of picture halls, didn't we?
And 6 billiard halls. And then it went down to 5 and then 4. But 4 they were there all the time until they changed everything. All the cinemas would have a cowboy on every week. And the cinemas would change twice a week. So the cinema was on for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday was a different,
So you liked the westerns then?
One of the picture houses was called either the Ranch or the Barrel,
right?
Because it's so many. That was a kinema, it's on a high road in Springburn, and you climb up the. I don't know if it's closed off or not. But,
I used to live up that road.
Did you?
I did. Springburn High Road, yeah. I did.
And the picture house was also called the Coffin. But the stairs still rose. If you looked at it from, say, up high in a building and looking, it was the shape of a coffin. Like that.
Okay.
And the princess was called the princess. And it had, during a Saturday morning, the ABC Miners, because ABC was the name of the outfit that owned the princess.
Got you.
And the other picture house was called the Astor. It was originally called Wellfield Street.
Mm-hmm.
And next door to that was Salvation Army.
Oh.
Yep. So that's...
And they played every single weekend. The band played in the streets. That was simple. So we'd probably have 20 musicians, all drummers and trumpet players.
I think there's an old picture up at Springburn Park. There was a bandstand, I believe.
There's a bandstand up there. I think they used to play up there as well sometimes.
Yeah. I'd love to see that nowadays. It's a shame we don't have that at Christmas, because it was always really festive, seeing everybody up there playing their instruments.
Yeah, that's what I think we were talking about it yesterday, but I think we didn't finish. That's a good one.
I played the French horn in the Salvation Army.
Did you?
Did you?
That would be lovely.
We were like Sally Ann and Treacher.
Because I went to. We did that at Christmas. Going out and care homes and things.
Oh,
So
That'd be lovely.
it was a hut in Springburn. I can remember that. I think it was down by the school, but I wouldn't be positive.
So Edie, you'll remember Springburn, and it's kind of the days where there was really great shops in Springburn.
Oh, aye.
What shops do you remember on Springburn? Because Springburn, I think, was bigger than Byers Road in terms of the amount of shops it had.
Well, I had 32 cooperative shops. All the way from the bridge at Charles Street. It's away now. Well, that was the railway bridge there, and the railway bridge at Quebec Road, and all the way out to when you turn off for Stop Hill.
Yeah.
I had shops, and up Goodley Street and all the other shops around there.
Wow. That must be hundreds easily. That's at least, 3 miles, 4 miles of shops?
More shops than now.
Yeah, no shops now.
How was security then? Crime rate and everything was...
Well, Woolworths was known as the knocking shop.
Was it the pick and mix though, Edie?
You took one and walked on, and hell mend you if you get caught, because you really got thumped. All the Woolworths had restaurants upstairs.
Oh, well.
Including the one in Springburn. Anyway, you used to go in and start at the beginning, get a tray and start at the beginning and take something, because you always had something, a starter, soup or a sandwich or a tidbit. So you took that and ate it before you got to the tilt and through. Many times you got your ears scalped for that. All of a sudden, somebody would trap you.
Do you remember going to see Santa when you were a wee boy?
Well, we went to Dallas's. Dallas's had a small railway in the shop. From the front door, you got on there and it went through the shop up to Santa.
I wish I could go to Dallas's right now. That sounds incredible.
Bring it on.
We had a train set, which I got for my Christmas from the Clyde Dockyard. It was in Argyle Arcade.
I think I know the shop you mean. It was a toy shop specifically?
Yes, specifically. And it's now in the Transport Museum.
That's right.
There were no bookmaker shops or anything like that. And the bookies stood at the corner of each street and they're closed.
Oh, wow.
And the police raided the bookmaker, they would collect them. Especially if it was, say, the National or the Derby or something. Cut off all the streets. Come down with the Black Maria and clog all the street for the money. And the bookie paid for half the fine. That's true. They would go down Triton Street, Mond Street, come to Mond Street and down it. You know where to run, unless you ran through the Corey. And if you ran through the Corey, they had dogs there. Well, you had to watch it.
I know as well, Ideh, the last time we spoke, you were talking about when you were younger and some of the Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd meet them on the street. And do you want to tell us about some of your experiences with some of the Americans?
Well, the Americans were, it wasn't so much Americans as there were nationalities everywhere in uniform. Everyone was in uniform. If you weren't in uniform, you had to have a pass to say you were excused. Everyone worked. But you never got young people walking about in the streets or anything like that. As I said, if you were walking about in the street and you didn't have a pass, you were in trouble. It meant you were a deserter or you were up to no good because you should be in the forces.
So what about transport back in the day, Ideh? You'll remember a lot of the days of the reliable, everyday transport, trams, buses. What are your recollections?
Chemical Road was terminus for the two cars. Number 4, which went from Springburn to Renfrew. And number 16 went from Springburn to Yoker. So if you went on one, if you went to Yoker, you got off, walked down the street until you came to the Renfrew ferry and it took you across the Renfrew. And the Renfrew ferry, you went back up the street and got to number 4 and it cost you a penny.
What was a penny roughly in today's money?
2 1/4 pennies is the same as an ordinary penny now.
Penny should be about, let's say, £5.60, rating from what we use for fare to go round. If a penny could take you round the buses, that means
2 1/2 pence took you to Rook and Glen. So you had to watch what you were doing for 2 1/2 pence coming back. There was no such thing as a return ticket.
Wow.
I mean, when you think about it, as I said, it was great being a kid then.
So Ideh, when you started seeing Springburn change, what sort of things did you see happening in your area and how did you feel about those changes?
I couldn't understand why they were taking all the shops away. Springburn was the biggest district in Glasgow. It had over 100,000 people registered in and around Springburn. And, I mean, there was over 1 million, 1.2 million one time. Huge.
So how was the library back then?
The library?
How was it as compared to now? Because you see, when you go to a library, you don't see people, some of the libraries are actually empty and they're thinking of actually closing some down. But during your time, how was it?
Well, you went to the library primarily if you were asked questions in school and you didn't know the answer. And they wanted you to know, so you went to the library. It was not very nice to women who were in the library, to tell you the truth. Always remember that. When you went in there and asked, they're supposed to help. Compared to now, they bend over backwards. Then, because you were a kid,
What about Old Springburn Library? Because Old Springburn Library had a museum part to it, didn't it?
Oh, I had a wee bit. Yes, I had.
I remember getting in and you had a train on the wall.
Oh, they did, aye.
Mm-hmm.
And that was out of Hydepark.
Hydepark, yeah. Do you remember much about the locomotive works that were going on at the time?
Served my time there.
Did you? You worked at Hydepark?
Yes, built steam engine.
You built steam engines? Oh my God. Oh, wow. Tell us more, Eddie.
Mhm. Most of the people at that time, when you left school, you went into a factory or joined a company and you were... So I went into Hydepark. I was an office boy from I was 15 until 16. Then you went to pre-apprenticeship school, which Hydepark ran in the AB buildings, on Fleming Street. AB means administration building. That was got big red handsome. Well, we were in there. And also next to that was a white mansion. And they used that as a classroom and all. So they had at the bottom, they had machines, and you were there for 2 months. And then they put you into Hydepark Home. It's the funniest place in the world, a factory. All the people, all the talent that was there. These people did machines, they turned out this, that, and that. To make a steam engine, you had 2 parallel frames in there. See it? Where the wheels are attached, the frame, okay? So you put that frame down, one on there and one on there, and it was attached on trestles. They lined it up so that it put string on it, and they just measured it until they got it correct. Then they put the wheel to put the bogie on. That's a bogie. 4 wheels there. Engines are 4. That'll be 2, 10, nothing. But usually it's 4, 6, 2. Anyway, that's a bogie. So you made the bogie separate, and these wheels were attached to that, and there were then wheels were attached at the back. Those are driving rods. Those are connection rods. That's a cylinder where the rods go in, and all the steam goes in from there to there. So steam comes in the top, pushes the rod out, because then the back rods push the thing in. That's the straps.
Right.
They were known as straps. And to build a steam engine with the clothing, all that was sheet metal, okay? Came to the paint shop, and the paint shop got emery board and cleaned it all up so it was smooth.
Wow.
Because sheet metal, it flakes, wee bits of speck. As soon as you hit it, it flakes. So they would put that on, put white on it, and then buff it all down again by hand, and then put more on. Do it again, put more on, do it again. So they would either do 3 or 4 times that, and it was inside and out. And then on the outside, they would put rustproof, which was red rustproof, and they did the same again. And then they put it on there, and they put it on there, and measured it to see that it was okay, took it off again, and then sprayed it, did it with hand, depending. And they put a sheet of undercoat, cleaned all that off, and did it again, and smoothed it all out, and did it again. There could be up to 15, 16 coats. You could stand there if it was black and comb your hair. It was really, really beautiful. And then they would take it out into the yard and back again.
How long did it take, Eddie? And how many people would it take to make one steam locomotive?
Well, there would probably be 2 apprentices and 4 men. And plus the leading hand. So leading hand, 4 tradesmen and 2 apprentices would build it now. And that would take them about 3 weeks.
Wow.
But all the other things would be done. I mean, wheels would be coming from the wheel shop. That's the smoke box. They steam the engine to begin with, take it out, and then they bring it back. They've now painted, they've just done it to get clean before it goes to, whatever, say, India or South Africa.
How long did you work there for, Ideh?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years, aye. And then I was 2 years in the forces. And I come back for a year after steam engines had gone out of fashion.
So, Ideh, if you had one piece of advice to give to the younger people who are listening to this podcast, what would it be?
Get a trade. You'll always need electricians, painters, joiners, tailors. I think they should have more industry skill because we're a nation of engineers. You'll always need them.
Yeah. Well, thank you very, very much, Ideh, for joining us. Also, thank you to the lovely Liz, Helen, Aurelia, and everybody listening to the podcast. Hopefully you join us for another instalment. We'll be back to chat to the lovely Liz, who's up next, but we'll also have some new things coming to the podcast, as well as the Audio Preservation Project itself. Some of the archives will include some classic gigs from Springburn back in the day, from the 1980s through to the 2000s, as well as music, interviews, and so much more. So please follow us online on Facebook, the usual platforms, Instagram, send us messages, send us your recollections, and if you've got anything you'd like to add to the Preservation Audio Podcast or the site itself, let us know. We will include that, and join us next time for another fantastic interview.